What's going on, good people? Welcome back to the channel. I hope that you guys are staying dry. It's raining where I am, so having a wonderful Monday and staying warm, safe, and dry out there. Listen, earlier I just made a video about Shannon Sharpe and him closing or looking at a 100 plus $1 million deal for his podcast. And I'm like, that's wonderful, right? And I alluded to, or I said specifically that, to me, that's kind of like hitting the jackpot, hitting the lottery. And I would be like one of those people, if I ever hit the lottery, in the scream mask or some kind of mask, right, to remain anonymous. I feel like that's very smart because it puts a target on your back. Child, I go on social media, and the next thing I know, I hear about Tony Buzbee suing Shannon Sharpe for a Jane Doe. If Tony Buzbee had learned his lesson before with Jay-Z, I don't listen. My grandmother and my mother, they're from the South, and there's this old saying, you don't believe that fat meat is greasy. I'm like, child, a hard head really does make a soft behind because why? I mean, I know why he keeps going after these rich black male entertainers with these, Jane Doe allegations. But Jay-Z wasn't the one. Sean Carter said, I'm from Brooklyn. And, I grew up going to war. So I'm very, well versed in it. And eventually Busby backed down. Now he's going after Shannon Sharpe with, again, another Jane Doe. And I'm just like, and I'm not saying that every situation is the same. I always want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, right? That's why we have due process in this country. Everyone deserves their day in court, but it's just like it's the same tire playbook, you know. No, no pun intended with the sports analogy, but I'm like, I feel like his legal strategy and his the way that he practices law, it's just stale and tired. And he was going after Diddy, and that's going to be in a few weeks in May. His trial's coming up with the Jane Does. Then he went after Jay-Z with the Jane Does. Now it's another Jane Doe. Like, do you have anything else up your sleeve, up your repertoire? Let's go ahead and get into this article from USA Today. It says Pro Football Hall of Famer and media personality Shannon Sharpe is facing a lawsuit accused of an essay in battery and engaging in intentional infliction of emotional distress. The lawsuit was filed Sunday in Clark County, Nevada, and obtained by USA Today. So, was it filed online? Because nothing's even open on Sunday, especially not yesterday. It was Easter. Okay. The plaintiff, listed under the alias Jane Doe, said that she was in a relationship with Sharpe for nearly 2 years, and it began as a rocky, consensual relationship. Isn't that an oxymoron? Like, that's a paradox. What do you mean a rocky, consensual relationship? Why would you stay with someone if it's rocky? See, things like this, and I'm not even not even a lawyer, but if I was a prosecutor, it's things like this that, you know, makes you question the validity of these claims. That doesn't make sense to me. The woman who is seeking $50 million in damages now, see, there we go. Shannon, his $100 million plus deal is in the news, and all of a sudden she wants half. Isn't that a coincidence? She said she met Sharpe at a Los Angeles gym in 2023 when she was 19. Okay, well then she was from the money. She was with the one of the money from the get go. If you was 19, trying to get with Shannon, who's in his 50s, stop the cap. Like you saw dollar signs as soon as you saw him. And alleged in the lawsuit that Shannon, who's currently 56 years old, S8'd her twice, one in October 2024 and again in January 2025. So if he did it in October 2024, why would you even go near his vicinity in January 2025? That doesn't make sense. If someone harms you physically, you don't think that it's a good idea to stay away from that person, especially Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe has one of the biggest and most, best physiques ever. He's a professional athlete. And even though he's 56 years old, he still has the muscle mass of someone in their 20s and 30s. The man takes very good care of himself physically. Again, that doesn't make sense to me. Okay. In a statement released Monday, Sharpe's attorney, Lanny J. Davis, called the lawsuit, quote, a blatant and cynical attempt to shake down Mr. Sharpe for millions of dollars. It is filled with lies, distortions, and misrepresentations, and it will not succeed, end quote. The woman says that Sharpe became violent over the course of the relationship, threatening to unalive her during one incident, and recorded their intimate encounters without her consent. It says, quote, Sharpe flew into fits of anger when the plaintiff noted his infidelity to their relationship and called him out on his activities, the lawsuit said. What had once been manipulation, control, and intimidation now became something far more dangerous and sinister. Sharpe even figured out how to get into Jane Doe's apartment complex without her permission, end quote. So why wouldn't she go to the police, and why would she see him months later? Because that's breaking and entering. That's a felony. And recording with someone without their consent is RP, revenge P. These are felonies. Is there any kind of paper trail? Are there any police reports for this Jane Doe? Okay. Sharpe made it clear that what Doe wanted was of no moment that Sharpe would get what he wanted and when he wanted it. In October 24, Shannon Sharpe violently SA'd the plaintiff on 2 separate occasions in Las Vegas, ignoring her request to stop, the lawsuit says. Let me tell you something. And again, I'm not judging anybody. This is just me talking. And the people that I normally hang around with that have, common sense. If somebody harms you, and I'm not even talking about intimately, I'm talking about period. Because I don't even like when people raise their voice to me, because who are you talking to? Like, you have to nip that stuff in the bud. People will only disrespect you as much as you let them. Because if somebody, for whatever reason, can't handle their anger, then they don't even have to worry about removing themselves. I will remove myself. Like, I have enough self-respect, self-preservation. Again, look at Shannon's physique. He's a Hall of Famer. This man has been a warrior his whole life. Why would you give anybody, Shannon or anybody, the opportunity to harm you physically more than once? Again, like I said, I understand, it's not always easy to leave, battered women syndrome and stuff like that. Especially since you're so young, you're only 19. Are you at 19? I don't know any 19 that can't pull multiple men, Like, what are you doing letting a man who's almost 60 years old harm you physically? You could at least, I was going to say, you could at least run, I don't know if you could outrun Shannon Sharpe, but you could just remove yourself from his presence. You don't have to be around someone if you feel in danger. That does not make sense to me. It honestly doesn't. And you're too young. You can't move back in with your parents. You're not even 20. Have you left home yet? Are you in college? Like, what's going on? Okay. Quote unquote, the Jane Does, represented by attorneys Tony Buzbee and Micah Nash. Buzbee was part of the legal team that won settlements against Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson after more than 24 massage therapists accused him of misconduct. Now, see, that holds weight because 24, that's, that type of testimony or testimonies reinforces and confirms, their strength in numbers, what these women or people are saying, right, with Watson. So was it just her? Because I haven't heard anybody else come out and say that Shannon was exceptionally violent. Because in my opinion, he doesn't seem like an extremely violent person. Like he's goofy, um, and corny, but he doesn't give me violent. I mean, he could be. I don't know. I don't know Shannon Sharpe, but this lawsuit, I have a lot of questions about it. Davis's statement included several explicit text messages allegedly sent from Jane Doe to Sharpe in order to set the record straight. It says Mr. Sharpe categorically denies all allegations of coercion and misconduct, especially the gross lie of R, and will not submit to what he sees as an egregious attempt at blackmail, Davis said in the statement. He stands firmly by the truth and is prepared to fight these false claims vigorously in court. He looks forward to vindication through due process and a judgment based on the facts and the law. Yeah, because that's exactly where this should be playing out, not on social media. Shannon Sharpe, who's a 3-time Super Bowl winning tight end, has his own successful podcast, Club Shay Shay, and makes regular appearances on ESPN's First Take. It was it was reported last week that Sharpe was eyeing a new podcast deal in the excess of $100 million. Boy, if you didn't put a bullseye target on your back, if you guys are, I don't know if y'all remember Eminem, the rapper, but what I forget what song it was. I think it may have been like Cleaning Out My Closet or something. He was always talking about his family, but he said that for every million I make, another family member sues. Like you, child, the way that I would not let people know I had a nickel. Like you. Again, I'm not saying what this woman is saying is true or not, because I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, and I'm not even going to be on the jury. But I do have a lot of questions about her choice of attorney, Tony Buzbee. He seems to have a very type of person, that he goes after, client that he represents. It always seems to be a Jane Doe in some kind of intimate, violent act case. And he seems to go after a very specific demographic he targets. They're rich, they're Black, they're entertainers. I could just see like the patterns here. That's what I'm calling out. And the fact that just last week, I didn't even know it was last week, I just heard about it today, that Shannon Sharpe, is eyeing a $100+ million podcast deal, again, which is incredible. I just made a video about it. That's why I thought he was trending. Now come to find out that somebody is trying to get half, and $50 million is a very specific number, right? Like, I don't even think that person would have asked for $50 million, 2 or 3 weeks ago. But now that the media is broadcasting his coins, that's not smart, Shannon. And that's what I mean. Like, Shannon gives me like, reform country bumpkin, which again, my family's from the South. I can say that. But man, that is not smart. You do not, what is that saying? Wealth whispers. You do not let people know how much money that you're having. Otherwise, if you tell them you're getting 100 million, they gonna want 50 of it or more. Because, a lot of that will be going to Tony. Well, you better call Jay-Z and get his lawyer on the line, because he's well versed in Mr. Buzbee and his antics. This is a mess. I don't know. Like I said, well, I know Shannon has, he has the resources to hire a very good lawyer. Like I said, if it were me, I would call Jay-Z and get his lawyer on the line. But he said that he's going to go through the legal process, because they're going to have to go through discovery. Like, they're going to go through all of this with a fine-tooth comb. And, Jay-Z's Jane Doe accuser, her story was too inconsistent. So this young woman, I have a lot of questions about her story. I'm not even saying, whether it's true or not. I'm just saying that a lot of it, I have questions. But anyway, that's just me. You guys, let me know your thoughts. Please be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk with you in the next one. I want to hear from you, y'all. Take care. Enjoy your Monday. Bye.